We are live.
Okay, great. A very good morning to all our attendees. Let me welcome on stage for our next keynote Dr. Aseem Chauhan, Chairman and Chancellor, Amity University, to deliver his address on how universities are leveraging technology for evolved learning. Dr. Chauhan wears many hats. Besides being the Chairman and Chancellor of Amity University, the founding promoter of the Amity Education Group is also the founding trustee of Written and Walworth Education Foundation. An engineering, finance, and strategic management degree from the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania has equipped Dr. Chauhan with the academic qualifications that support his endeavors. He is also an alumnus of the prestigious Jerome Fisher Program in Management and Technology. Prior to founding the Amity Education Group, Dr. Chauhan also wore the hat of a venture capitalist and leveraged buyouts, making investments of over $1 billion globally. He was formerly with AEA Investors, a multi-billion dollar private equity firm in New York, which invests funds for current and former Fortune 100 CEOs and global HNIs. He provided early-stage venture capital to biotech and high-tech startups in association with Philadelphia Ventures. At Mercer Management Consulting, he was a strategic advisor to leading companies in New York, London, and Hong Kong, as with JP Morgan in investment banking. Thank you so much, Dr. Chauhan, for joining us today for this session, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Punita, and thank you to Ritu, Maria, and the whole team of Entrepreneur for inviting me today to be part of this exciting initiative, Innovation in Education. It's a conference and awards, and what a wonderful topic for Entrepreneur to bring to the fore. It's an exciting sector, and I'm very happy to be with all the viewers here today, so thank you so much for that. The education sector as a whole, as are many sectors, is undergoing a dramatic change. We are all seeing it. And I think there are a lot of very exciting opportunities that are being created by this change. People say that sometimes there are decades where no change happens, and then there are times when within a few days, decades worth of change happen, and we are very excitingly within that phase. But let me also begin by saying that for all of our attendees here today, I hope that all of you are keeping safe, all of you are keeping healthy. And on behalf of the entire Amity family, we pray for the well-being of you and your loved ones, wherever you might be. I would say that the current pandemic that we are in has catalyzed a various number of trends that were already on the cards even before the pandemic started. But there has been a great acceleration of many of these things that we are seeing here today. And from where I stand, I think we are in phase number 3 and maybe approaching phase 4 social experiment where faculty and administrators and parents and students pulled together and were able to achieve the almost impossible, migrating lakhs and crores of students from in-class learning to online learning. It was something tremendous. When one actually sees what has been achieved, it is something which is absolutely mind-boggling. But I always say salute to our faculty members, salute to our teachers for having been able to do it, and also I think great praise to all the family members and parents at home who were able to support children to achieve this. That was phase number 1. Phase number 2 happened after the classes were stabilized. We understood how to do the online learning. That Yes, apologies. I think the connection had just dropped. Uh, Punita, am I back on? And
Yes, absolutely. You can hear
great.
you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And this is maybe a live example of how, even in the most planned way, in technology, glitches happen, but we get past it, we keep moving on. So apologies to the viewers. If it happens again, I will try to reconnect from another device, but let's keep pushing forward. I was talking about the phase two of this great change that we are going through, which was the assessment part of it. That how do we do examinations? And great experts came together. There was guidance from different quarters. The government did a lot of discussion on this topic. Private universities like Amity had an important role to play in trying to devise the right technologies in which examinations could be done in a fair and equitable manner. And we got through that second phase. The third phase that we are currently in is, okay, we now know in a relatively stable manner how to impart this online education to a large number of students. We understand how to do the examination and assessment part. How do we now stabilize this and look in a holistic manner how to provide a better experience to the students? How do we look at aspects that otherwise would be missing in an online experience and create it in a virtual world so that students don't miss out in terms of socialization, in terms of mentoring, in terms of placement, in terms of employability and grooming? How do you bring in various aspects of what would be an in-campus experience and try to simulate that in the virtual world? That is currently what, and there are tremendous improvements in how this online teaching experience is now happening. If you talk to students, if you talk to faculty, there is great comfort in how these things are being done. And we are now pushing the envelope to see how can we now truly make this better, and how can we now leapfrog or pole vault to the next level where we have not only managed a situation which was a problem, but how have we leveraged it to greatly improve the experience for all involved? And that is the challenge here. When I talk about phase four is going to be when we start reopening our campuses and when students start coming back onto campus. Then how do we utilize technology to ensure a safe working environment, learning environment, stay on the campus? And I will just come to that point. But these are the progressions that we are currently undergoing. Education is interesting because traditionally, universities particular, and we're talking about universities more at the moment, universities traditionally, if you look globally around the world, have not really been the most nimble of organizations or entities. They last for hundreds of years. The academic processes are such that it is not really globally seen a hotbed for dramatic change and nimbleness. But that is all now changing. And one of the biggest factors has been that although technology has always been available and prevalent, it is the adoption of the technology where the faculty and the professors had to be trained, and sometimes there was resistance that why do we need to do it? It has been working fine for so many years. That why do we need this change? But given the current scenario, there is an understanding that change is inevitable. And this adoption barrier, which used to happen, is no longer there. And we are seeing people who may have had trouble even turning a computer on earlier are now very savvy with Zoom, with a lot of different technology apps and processes. So this adoption that is happening now broadly is something very exciting, and that itself will be a trigger for a lot more technology and innovations to come in the education sector. If I break down the areas in which technology innovation is happening within universities, I would say there are broad four areas that we can break down and talk for a few minutes about what is happening in each of these four categories of change. And there are many entrepreneurs, I'm sure, listening in today. This is, after all, Entrepreneur Magazine. So there are opportunities for startups in the edtech sector. And if you listen carefully, I think in each of these four sectors that I will just highlight, there are incredible opportunities to develop and grow large companies, to develop good businesses, to support the academic environment. And I think this is very much the need of the hour. So first, I will touch upon the teaching learning process itself. This is, of course, the very core and heart of what a university system is, that how are we teaching our students, how are they learning? And in this regard, a number of technologies have been now relatively seamlessly integrated into this process to make this teaching learning process better and more efficient in the virtual world. One is the concept of what we're doing now, the, uh, the video platforms, the learning management system platforms that are now integrated almost in all institutions that are doing this kind of virtual environment teaching, the online teaching. And there are a number of platforms. We're very familiar with, things like Zoom that we're using today. We are familiar with Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx. But actually, there are a myriad number of new platforms that are coming up that are integrated into educational learning management systems. We have incubated and invested in several of these and experimenting what can be done to create a more natural online environment. Within the classroom, there are other technologies, such as teachers want to know that when they are teaching a group of students, can we have real-time feedback? So for example, real-time polling and real-time surveys, cloud maps, different tools that can be integrated real-time into the teaching classroom to get feedback from students to know that what is the quality of understanding and comprehension. This is something which actually is easier done in an online environment than would be in a classroom itself. And this is something surprising. In the classroom, we would have to have devices in every student's hand, and polling is possible. And at Amity, we have been experimenting with bring your own device, BYOD technologies, where students do polling in a class. But today, we are sitting at a computer, we're sitting on our iPad, on our phone, and immediately we have all the technology in hand to be able to provide that teacher or faculty member the real-time feedback through polls. Adaptive learning. It is my great desire that we all move in a direction that every student is assessed for their strengths and weaknesses, for their interests, and we can devise an academic system, an education system that is no longer cookie cutter with one mold fits all, but truly a customized system where different pathways are available for different students to study the areas of their interest at the speed of their capability. And once we can create this more flexible, adaptable system, we will be a better education system in India. And therefore, things like adaptive learning, data analysis around students, real-time feedback is very important. And then, of course, the question around laboratories and labs, that in a university, that is an important aspect to it. So what are the online tools available to make that very important component of learning more practical, more hands-on, without our students missing out on that very important aspect. Finally, content is very important, naturally. And whereas content is widely available, how do we customize that content and make it more ready, make it more available, make it more user-friendly and relevant and up-to-date for the online environment? That is something which is being worked on war footing in many quarters. And I think this content will get better and better as we keep moving in this direction, where we feel that this online learning process is something which is very helpful and inevitable going forward also. The second area is something I touched upon, which is the assessment part of it. How do we do examinations better? I think in this area, there are tremendous opportunities for improvement. We at Amity have been using different platforms and technologies, including artificial intelligence-based proctoring systems, of course, video technologies, but really very now interesting ideas about how a student could be sitting far away and one could almost get a 360-degree view into the room to make sure that everything is happening without unfair means, similar to what would be happening in a classroom. And we're finding that even in a in-person setting on campuses, it may be helpful going forward to utilize some of these AI-based proctoring tools to better analyze what is happening even in an examination hall, which was earlier done by individuals in flying squads and invigilation in person in campus. Even for that, technology may be a better way to do these things going forward. And then in assessment, of course, there is also the idea of how can we devise better assessment systems. And there again, the question of adaptive learning, where questions can be thrown on you based on your former responses, so that a more nuanced view about your ability as a student can be determined. I think some of these ideas will make assessments better as well, not only in examinations, but also in continuous assessment, where students are being assessed for work that they're doing throughout the semester, throughout the year, that how can we utilize technology to get a better hold of how a student has learned and what they have learned. I think this will help move away from the rote learning that people generally accuse our systems of for many years into a more nuanced way of understanding that has a child, has a youth truly understood the concepts, and are they able to show that in a consistent manner. The third area is academic administration, which is, of course, very important at universities. And within this, the basket of technologies include intranets, collaborative tools where faculty members and staff members can interact, data management. And this is so important in this day and age. Data has become so relevant, so important, and to be able to analyze the data across the universities to make the efficiency of the university better. I think this will be very important. And then not only getting data, but analyzing data. So to have the right technologies and tools in hand for data analysis, I think this is very important. And finally, how do we utilize technology, as I had alluded to earlier, to really create this better overall environment where we look at extracurricular activities? Now, how can we have a system where students do not miss out on, student activities, sporting activities, group activities, and then student services, pastoral care? Are we ensuring that we are providing the same things online as we were doing in an in-class room setting? So, for example, mentoring, we have a mentor-mentee program within Amity. All of that has migrated online, where tens of thousands of sessions are being held by faculty mentors, by industry mentors for students, which is all being documented and logged in, so that some of these aspects, which otherwise could fall off the table in a virtual environment, would not happen. The fourth area is not academic administration, but administration generally, which is the more sort of hands-on thing which happens at a university. And as we move into what I had called phase 4, where we move students back onto campuses, this will have a very important role. So questions of how can we ensure safety at a campus? And again, for this, we are already utilizing things like computer vision, where there is software overlaid onto IP camera networks, where we can very closely see every day that is there any breach of protocol that we have laid down in terms of the social distancing and other protocols that are in place to keep a safe, hygienic, and healthy environment. ERP systems for administration to make sure that all the different divisions of the university are communicating and synchronized and synthesized carefully. These are some of the aspects that in administration would be very helpful. IoT technology has an important role to play in the future, where we will be able to have low-cost sensors across the campus, where we'll get real-time data about movement, about safety, again, for students and faculty and visitors as they come onto university campuses. And I think this facilities management aspect of this will also be very important as we keep going forward. Apart from these more tactical issues of where technology is going to be utilized and how it will be helpful, let me just talk for a minute about the broader shift and the more important shift. And that is, there is a sea change in how universities going forward will think about what is the role of the university as a whole. Up to now, it has been relatively straightforward. There is a focus on teaching and learning. There is a focus on some research. But actually going forward, universities are going to rethink that what are we able to do and what is our responsibility towards society. I think universities will be looking much more at areas like lifelong learning, like executive education, trying to incorporate innovation in every aspect to reach out to a much broader audience, not only students from the range of 18 to 25, but maybe a much broader audience where literally the question of employability, when we look at when people are in jobs in the workplace and we talk about employability, can universities have a role in educating throughout someone's life? So it's not only that you enter into a university and then graduate, but can you have a relationship throughout your life where you are upskilling, you are improving your abilities on a continuous basis? Because as content improves, as technology is changed, as what we learned earlier becomes obsolete, there will be a need to have a continuous learning process throughout life where we are almost continuously learning and upgrading ourselves throughout. And this, I think, will be an important part of where we go. Research is, of course, at the backbone and crux of every university. And going forward, universities will have to really think about how can we do this in settings that may be disrupted as we are currently disrupted. And I've been amazed that our scientists, our faculty members at Amity, let me talk from our experience, during the pandemic period, have produced an incredible number of publications, huge number of patent outputs, large number of funded projects have come in this time period. So it shows that you do not need to be in a physical campus setting together to do research, but even in a highly distributed work from home environment that we are currently in and have been in for some time, incredible research, innovation can happen. Tremendous output of new bodies of knowledge can exist. And I think this is very exciting. For the entrepreneurs out there, some of the areas for you to further look at, which might be exciting, is peer-to-peer learning. I think this is something which will really come up in a big way. Augmented reality. I think this is an exciting area. Again, we have invested in startups in some of these areas, but none of these are yet broad-based, mainstream adopted. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to improve on the AR, VR aspects of education implementation. And of course, artificial intelligence and data management. I think this is something which will see quantum leaps of improvement in how we incorporate it and integrate it into the university systems. I think this is all very exciting. So for all of the entrepreneurs out there, I think this is a very exciting time. We have seen opportunities in edtech and education which have not been seen in decades and decades. We at Amity are committed to supporting entrepreneurs. We have incubators and accelerators across all of our universities. Hundreds of entrepreneurs are incubated. If you have ideas, reach out to us. We are there to support you, because I feel that we are at an opportunity time where if we look carefully, if we work hard in the right direction, we can truly change the future of our country through quality education enabled by innovation and technology. And we have to work together in a collaborative manner to make it work. So I wish you all the best. I just want to also mention that the new education policy, which has been proposed, we have heard from the great Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe earlier today, very great thinker. I think this new education policy is very forward-thinking. It opens up opportunities in terms of digital and online education, which has not been there before. Online education as a whole is growing so much in the country. All of you know it. Amity University was the first university to get permission for online degrees in India. Now more will come. We are excited by it. So all the best to all the entrepreneurs. I look forward to your questions, and great to be with you here today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chauhan, for the address. I think you made some valid points on how universities like yours and emerging economies have shown that they have a key role to play in response to the coronavirus crisis through both cutting-edge research and development and pioneering approaches to teaching and studying. With regards to the questions, yes, we might have to do another session in terms of the startups pitching for getting incubated at Amity. But nevertheless, we have a couple of questions with regards to the session. We'll just take up one question. This is from Professor Suryavanshi from Mumbai. He's asking, how do you visualize structural reality of blended delivery of lessons to be by way of leveraging blockchain, wherein computation power of several universities will play a crucial role?
Yeah, so that is a very specific and interesting question. Greetings to you, Professor Suryavanshi from Mumbai. So blockchain is, of course, a interesting area to look at, and it has been talked about in the past more in the context of online cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Technologies are now also being utilized in the area of contracts management in the legal area. But you're right that blockchain technology as a whole has implications in the education sector also. I think the first step will be not so much in the in-classroom teaching, but I think blockchain technology will first be utilized for the verification and ensuring the validity of qualifications and degrees, where degrees and diplomas that you earn at universities will be put onto the cloud, and through blockchain technologies, that verification process can be seamlessly done, so that we ensure that this plague that we have of fake certifications no longer exists. So I think in the first step, blockchain technology has a very relevant role to play in that regard. In terms of in-classroom teaching, I think we are still maybe one or two steps away from that. It is a little bit to be discussed and debated. But I do have some thoughts on that. But for Suryavanshi, I would say maybe contact me separately, and we can have a much longer talk. I think we can talk half an hour on this topic only. But I think that the verification aspect will come first. The in-classroom teaching will come later.
So, we'll just take one last question due to the paucity of time. It's from Jamol Felix. He's asking what will be the future of education universities after the COVID pandemic, and what will be the future of e-learning platforms?
Yeah, fantastic. Very good. So, I have said it before and I'll say it again, that although we are talking about all these changes happening, the bricks and mortar universities, of course, are here to stay. And what we will experience is that as a result of the different innovation and technology platforms that we have spoken about, there will be this very integrated blended learning system that we will have. I do not think that we will go back to the way things were. And truly, I feel if we do, it will be a big mistake and a huge opportunity lost. So we have to think of the new avatar of universities, where we have the best of both worlds, where we provide a platform for socialization, for interaction, for camaraderie, for personal growth through being on campuses, but then also integrate all these amazing technologies to ensure that we have better learning outcomes, better collaboration, more global thinking, better understanding of customized pathways for students. So this utilizing technology more as a crutch to do better things on campuses in a blended learning mode, I think will be the way forward. And online learning has, of course, a tremendous role to play in terms of increasing our gross enrollment ratio, reaching those that have not been able to get formal education so far, providing opportunity not only for degrees, but for certificates and diplomas, for modular learning, for skills development and vocational training, that we can bring truly a more inclusive, a more relevant, a more practical education system to India, which has long been awaited.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think that's a valid point. And I know there are a lot of questions being lined up. So maybe we can ask your team at Amity, since it's live on YouTube, they can ask some of the questions directly there. So on this note, I'll have to conclude the session. Thank you so much for taking out time and share your thoughts with our audience today. And I hope in future we'll meet in person at the university.
Sure, Punita. Thank you so much. And great work, Entrepreneur India is doing. My compliments to all of you, and to all the viewers. Stay safe, all the best, and nice to be here with all of you today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.